Hello everybody. My name is Victor Armando Martinez. I am a lead pastor of a church in North Minneapolis called Soy NG Church, or a bilingual church. I consider myself Mexican American, which I just actually found out about 2 years ago that I was actually made in Mexico and born in California. That's what I said. And so I actually want to take the talk today about that, that nobody's an accident and everybody has value, So if you want to ask yourself three questions in your life. If you ever lack passion or if you ever lack direction, you want to ask yourself three questions. And it's, where does my value come from? What was I made for? And how can God use my story? And so that's where I want to get my points about my life today. I want to divide my life into three sections. The first section is from the ages of 2 to about 13 years old, where I found my value. So growing up, I had a very low self-esteem. It was very bad. I used to play as a little kid in the sandbox at school alone for the simple fact of I felt that people would hurt me emotionally, so I just stayed away from people. And when I became a little older, when I was in 7th grade, I would make a line to the drinking fountain, as all the classes do. And there was this one time a girl at the end of the line that made a comment to me, "Don't drink up the whole ocean." And right, but I actually went to the bathroom and I cried. So that's just to give you an idea of my low self-esteem. As a Mexican American, my Spanish wasn't as good as first generation Mexicans. So my Spanish was very broken. And so at that time, all my peers had been born in Mexico, raised in Mexico, and they had just come over here. And so the Mexicans would call me a fake Mexican. And so I didn't feel like I belonged here, but I wasn't white and I wasn't black. So I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. I didn't have a lot of value. And then one day I began to hear about the value that God gives us, about how we're important in God's eyes, about how you were born with a purpose, and my self-esteem began to rise. And then the next phase in my life was between the ages of 13 to about 23, where I not only knew where my identity was, but I started to find out that I was good at things. I was good at certain things that other people weren't good at. And I began to see that I had talents and abilities and things that other people did not have. And I began to feel that I wanted to share the gospel to people. I felt that I wanted to inspire people, to encourage people, because I realized that a lot of people in the world don't feel good about themselves. And there's a lot of facade, and I found my purpose. I began to talk to my friends at school. I began to share my faith and encourage people. And I would actually go in the cafeteria and look for the person that sat alone, the person that was the outcast, and began to sit with them and encourage them and just talk to them, just let them know that I was there for them. And that was the second phase. Then my third phase of my life was between the ages of 23 to 31, where I knew ministry was coming down the pipes. I knew that God called me to plant a church. But the hard part was that I came from a church that was very conservative, very legalistic, very don't do that, don't do that. And I almost felt like I had to be that way. When I would preach in the churches before, my pastors would give me that look of, you didn't do it my way. And so after 15, 16 years of that, I thought I had to do things that way. And I realized when we planted the church that that's not who I am. And so the first year what I did was I scrapped it all. I started from nothing. And it was really awkward because, you start from nothing is like, it sounds weird. But then I realized that God made me a special way, a certain way. He knew my background, and I said, if he knows my background and he allowed me to go through certain things, then maybe that's what I should be using to be ministering to people, my story. And I embraced my story, and I embraced who I was, my weirdness, my quietness, my lack of sense of humor maybe, And these are the things that God started using in my life. I was able to start communicating who I was, and I found my purpose. Because sometimes in our stories, God can use our pain to heal somebody else. When we share our stories, God can use our troubles to give light a victory to other people. And so I really believe that if we begin to do that individually, maybe, just maybe, we'll find our divine given purpose. Thank you.